Hi everyone.
Hey
Thank you for bearing with us. Had some technical difficulties for a minute, but welcome to our virtual kitten shower. Hooray!
My name is Carly. I'm one of the foster coordinators here at Nevada Humane Society. So it is my main job to send animals out into foster homes, and we're hoping to provide you with a little bit more information on what that looks like and how our process works today. We want to say thank you to everyone joining us. We know it is Easter Sunday, so to anybody celebrating, Happy Easter. To those of you who are not celebrating, thank you for tuning in to see what we're going to do with our kittens this year.
My name is Pilar. I'm one of the intake coordinators here at Nevada Humane Society. For those of you guys who don't know, Nevada Humane Society is an open admission, no-kill shelter. So what that means is the open admission part is kind of like we will take in pretty much any animal in our county, and sometimes we'll do out-of-county transfers and things like that. We don't ever turn any animals away. The no-kill part refers to how we treat our animals. We don't ever euthanize any animals for space, or if they've been here too long, or if we're like running low on money or anything like that. Every animal that has the possibility of being adoptable is given that chance. So we're really fortunate to have the community support and the resources to continue to do what we do. So we're going to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about fostering. For our program, fostering largely involves kittens, but I feel like the best person to tell you about that would be the foster coordinator.
So last year, Nevada Humane Society saved the lives of over 2,500 kittens through our foster program. This means that over 2,500 kittens came into our shelter doors. However they get here, sometimes they are transferred, sometimes people find them in their garage and come surrender them, and sometimes their owners surrender. However they get here, if they are under 8 weeks of age, they do need to go into our foster program. That way they can be set up for the best possible adoptive home when they're ready. And they're ready at about 8 weeks of age, and so anything under 8 weeks old goes into a foster home.
So right now we're not seeing as high numbers as we have seen in previous years. This is largely due to the health crisis, the global health crisis that's going on right now with COVID-19 and everyone doing their job and staying inside, so good job, all of you. We do expect that we will still see pretty high intakes of animals, but it's probably going to happen a little bit later on in the year. So we're kind of getting a jump on it now while everyone has some time. So we're going to teach you guys a little bit about stop. We're going to teach you guys a little bit about how you can be involved in our foster program. Even if you can't take an animal into your home, you can still always donate. You can donate through our Facebook page. You can donate through our website. You can also donate supplies to help us with kitten season. We have a kitten wish list through Amazon. The link is a whole bunch of places. It should be on our Facebook page. It should be on our Instagram page. So if you want to check that out and see what items you can provide for us, that would be great. And if you can't do either of those things, you can definitely spread the word. Share this with your friends and family. Tell them about fostering and keeping great.
There are lots of different ways to get involved with our foster program, and first and foremost, of course, is actually fostering kittens for us. And what that kind of looks like is we get in dozens of litters, sometimes in the same day, that do need to go to foster homes, the same day that they arrive in our shelter. And so what we do is we pull from our list of foster volunteers, we let them know who we have available and what we have that needs fostering, and they'll let us know what they're able to do, and they'll come pick them up same day. And that way, these guys don't spend a lot of time here hanging out in the shelter. They get to go home and get started on that fostering process as soon as possible. Kind of the who needs fostering is any kittens that are under 8 weeks of age will need to go to foster care. So that's anything from 1 day old to kittens who are 7 weeks old. And we kind of lump them into 3 different age groups, depending on what their age is, what their development is like, and what their needs are. You want to go into?
Sure. So the first needy group is bottle kittens. That's any kitten that is just born or around 4 to 5 weeks old. Bottle kittens need to be fed formula, and we recommend checking on them every 2 to 3 hours, feeding them every 2 to 3 hours to ensure that they're healthy and that they're warm and fed. A lot of times these kittens come in without a mother, so what the foster family does, stop doing that. What the foster family does is provide that care and that security that a mom cat would do. Bottle kittens can't regulate their own body temperature, so they need a constant heat source. Okay, she just wants to be in my lap. They need to be fed every 2 to 3 hours, like I said, and they need some help going to the bathroom and just kind of navigating their world. Bottle fostering is pretty fun. It does require you to feed them, like I said, every 2 to 3 hours, so sometimes you have to get up in the middle of the night. And this period continues until they're about 4 to 5 weeks old, and then we call them gruel kittens, and they're Harvey's favorite.
I can take it from there. Gruel kittens are kittens learning to eat a more solid diet. They're transitioning from a more liquid-based diet of the formula to a more solid diet of actual canned food and actual kibble. Gruel is the stage right in between where they're learning this process. So they'll eat a mixture of the kitten formula and canned cat food. And sometimes they need a little help with this. Sometimes you need to help them out with a spoon. Sometimes this stage is pretty messy. Fortunately, it's also pretty quick. They do tend to catch on to eating and using the litter box pretty quickly. And after they do that, we consider them weaned kittens. And weaned kittens are kittens that can self-regulate their own body heat. They can also eat out of the bowl reliably and can be left alone for a little bit longer period of time. So these kittens would work a little bit better in homes where people have a little bit longer work schedules or not everyone's home at the same time. There's always a foster available for you. Even if you don't think that you're able to foster, we can always work something out with the different kittens that come in. Now, primarily we do see bottle and gruel kittens more often than weaned kittens, but weaned kittens do come in from time to time in need of foster care.
I think it's important to note that our foster program isn't only for kittens. It's just probably like 80% of the animals that we foster out. I totally just made up that number, by the way. Don't quote. That's where we need the most help. Sometimes we'll do adults with medical issues, dogs, adult cats, that kind of thing. Sometimes we do rabbits and guinea pigs, but by and large, it's for kittens. The other foster situation for cats that we see a lot of the times is mom and kittens, and we actually have some of those right here. This is the most ideal foster situation, as mom does all of the work. She feeds the kittens, she bathes them, she makes sure that they're safe and warm. Unfortunately, we don't see this foster instance very often, but like I said, it is the best case scenario, as kittens, they need their mom. And these guys are actually being fostered by our lovely volunteers, so we can talk to them now.
I'm Angie, this is my daughter Lizzie. This is our 3rd year with NHS fostering. We always look forward to the kitten season coming because we get real anxious because they're just so much fun to have. This is our current mom and her babies. We've had them for about 5 days now, and she's just doing beautifully. Do you want us to keep going? Okay. Let's see, our first foster experience, we didn't even own a cat. I had never taken care of a cat, never had indoor cat, so we were just kind of thrown into the situation. We volunteered to be thrown into it. And the volunteer coordinators, the foster coordinators were awesome at training us and being a great resource on everything that we needed to learn how to do. And every year we take on different challenges. Last year we had a group of 5 kittens.
They were all blind, and it was just very exciting to interact with them in a way that you wouldn't have expected.
Because they can't see, we had to do everything through hearing. So we had to tap on things and had to show them where their litter box was and their, by feel where their litter box was. And it was a great learning experience, and they all grew up to be happy and healthy, and they didn't know that they were blind. So we just really enjoy doing the work here, and the goal for us is always to let go. The number one question I always get asked when people find out that I foster is, how do you not keep the kittens? I would keep all the kittens, and that's a lot of kittens. Yeah, no, we just think we just want to get them to be the best kitten we can get them to be, so they can go off to
And
have
sometimes I
be the
think
best pet.
sometimes you do get emotionally attached, especially if you have a younger baby, such as a bottle
You've had it
baby,
for a long
that
time.
you've
Exactly.
hand-fed and raised since a baby, and you're basically its mother. It's very difficult to let go, but you just have to kind of remember that goodbye is the goal, and that this
There's
is
a family waiting to give them so
exactly,
much
and this
love.
this is the reason that you have them, is to get them into a home that's going to give them all the love that they need and deserve.
And there's always another litter waiting. Always.
Always more litters.
Always more
need
litters.
Foster care.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the best cure for returning your foster kittens for spay, neuter, and adoption is taking home another litter shortly after.
Oh, the amount of times that we've come in and we've just dropped off a kitten at
So we
clinic
have to
get
have another
fixed,
litter
and
to
then
fill that
and we
void.
just ran right back in and grabbed another litter and took it home the same day.
Yep, as long as everything's cleaned in between,
Yes.
you can always foster a new litter same day. There are always litters coming in. Kitten season lasts pretty much from late May to September. So until September, we anticipate this to be as busy of a kitten season as any. We do anticipate there to be a great need for new foster homes. Because foster failing is pretty common, and that's what we kind of refer to as when a foster home adopts their foster kittens, we are always in need of new foster homes, because generally foster failing leads to that foster home no longer being able to foster for us.
And while it's great that a foster family adopts their animal, that kind of means that we lose that family, we lose that home, that resource, all their knowledge and the training that we put into them. We kind of like to see fostering as a really crucial second step, but it's not the end goal. Just like Lizzie said, goodbye is the goal. We want to get these guys as healthy and as well-rounded as possible, so that when they do find their forever home, it truly is forever. But fostering is still super fun.
Fostering's super fun and it's super rewarding. It's definitely worth the work. As you can see, these guys are pretty cute. We've been fostering them since they were only an hour old. So these are bottle kittens that are now about 5.5 weeks old, and they'll be ready, for their adoptive homes in a few weeks. And
As you can see, they're having a great time.
And I'll be ready to foster some more kittens. And that kind of goes over, who needs fostering. And your main point of contact for any fostering situation would be the 2 foster coordinators, myself, Carly, and then the other foster coordinator who can't be with us today. Her name is Lexi. We kind of handle all of the training, all of your support system. We're pretty much here every single day, ready to take your phone calls and that kind of thing.
And I would like to add that they work so incredibly hard. And, you may not realize it, but every time that they have 16 litters a day, which can equal up to like 30 or 40 kittens a day, if people who are fostering won't take them, they do.
They take them home.
Every night. And so sometimes they're up the entire night because they have 6 bottle babies, 3 gruel kittens.
And then they have to come in and do it again tomorrow.
Yep.
Every day.
And I love it. So I keep doing it. But that's also why we need more foster homes, is to kind of lessen the stress of our current foster homes. With life always changing, we're always losing foster homes. And, most of the time, it's just people who move away or they adopt or they're unable to foster anymore. So we're always looking for new foster homes. The more homes that we can recruit, the more people we can get trained, the more kittens we can save, because then we'll be able to take in more kittens and send them to our foster program. So your next question that's on your mind is probably when you're going to get kittens. And the short answer to that is when they start coming in. Generally around this time of year is when we start seeing litters, and while intakes have ticked up, it's not as large as it has been in past years, although we do anticipate there to be a ton of kittens coming in the next few months who are going to need foster homes. So this is a great time to learn what goes into it and learn how you need to take care of them and, you know, what kind of process that's going to look like. And Lexi and I are always willing to teach you more, so even if you wanted to start out kind of slow just by taking weaned kittens or moms and kittens, we're always interested in teaching you how to take care of bottle kittens, kittens that may have kitty colds, and kittens that may have just a little bit more special needs than most. Like I said, there's a foster situation for anybody, and we're willing to work with you and train you and get you prepared for success just as much as the kittens.
Now we're going to transition over to our question and answer period. We have been getting so many great questions on the Facebook Live, and I'm actually going to read them off and try to sort of group them together because there are a lot.
Okay, the mysterious voice off the screen is Nicole.
There she is.
So the first question, and something we've been getting quite a bit of, is folks wanting to know how long they can expect a foster commitment to last.
That's a really great question, and it's going to kind of depend on how old the kittens are when you take them. So if you're taking newborns, expect to have those kittens for about 8 weeks. If you're taking weaned kittens who are 6 weeks old, expect to have them for about 2 weeks. Basically, we want them to stay in the same foster home the entire time until they're 8 weeks of age, and at that point they can be returned for spay, neuter, and adoption.
Folks are also very interested to know what items on our Amazon wish list registry would be the most helpful.
The items on our Amazon wish list registry that are the most helpful are, first and foremost, miracle nipples. You've probably seen us advertising them, kind of trying to explain why we use them. There are standard-made kitten bottles that we do send out with every kitten. However, the nipple that comes on them is not pre-cut and is not it's not a very similar shape to a mom cat's actual nipple, and kittens have a really hard time latching. And when kittens have a hard time latching, they're missing meals,
Or they're not getting as much during the meal because they're trying to figure out how to eat out of this weirdly shaped rubber thing.
So those miracle nipples actually really help. You can see the improvement almost instantly with using those with our bottle kittens. And then second to those would be our Snuggle Safe heating discs. Since any kitten under 5 weeks of age can't regulate their own body temperature, we always recommend, there's no one in there.
We don't have one. I was going to show you.
We always recommend always having supplemental heat sources for them. That way they can, they're not spending any extra energy trying to warm themselves up. They'll have something that they can rest on if they need to. And they can also move away from it if they get too warm.
Folks are also interested to hear more details on the kind of space that they would need to provide in their home for fosters.
I think that one.
Yeah.
That is a big excuse. A lot of people go, I don't have room. My house isn't big enough. They're not that big, especially mama and the babies. We have put litters in our closet. We have a walk-in closet. If you have a spare bathroom,
Especially because sometimes we have taken,
we'll have different litters.
We've had about like 15 kittens once.
Yeah, it was a really bad year.
It was a very bad
So
year.
we got very creative on different locations. But yeah, they come in a carrier. When you get them, they come in a crate. And the newborns typically stay in that crate. And do you have a crate? Yeah.
Well, we have our personal carrier here.
Yeah,
So
and so this size, they stay in this for quite a while until they get rather
They're
mobile.
so small they can't really move around
And that
very much.
space, that's not as big as luggage that we store year round. So yeah, you can really have them anywhere. And then as they get larger, you just keep them like child-proof, kitten-proof an area. And we have X pins, different
And
kind
for
of
us, once
barriers
they
we
got
put up.
bigger, we would give them more and more of a house. So we would have like an X pen blocking off our upstairs
hallway. So they had the
So
whole
they could have
upstairs
the
to
whole
play with.
hallway with scratchy poles and
For the spare
food and litter
bedroom.
boxes and all of that.
Yeah.
The most
So
important
there's
thing.
not a lot of space required.
The most important thing is that wherever you house your kittens, it should be, or any foster animal, it should be somewhere that's easy to clean and sanitize. So if there are messes or, if anything happens, that you can just easily wipe something down. So a spare bathroom is always great because, you don't have carpet in there a lot of times or, something like that.
And the best thing about kittens being small and needing small spaces is they don't need a lot. A spare bathroom is actually plenty of space for even a large litter of kittens, like 6 kittens. They don't really need a whole bunch of space to run around. So don't feel like you're cramming them somewhere or anything like that. They can get lost easily, so actually keeping them to a confined
Sometimes
space
the smaller
is
the
better.
space, the better, because they can get under couches.
And they can find trouble. So yeah, the smaller the space, the better, for sure.
There are a few folks asking if we do home checks, and those are required.
Home checks are not required. We do love when we get a picture sent of, hey, this is my space, I'm ready for kittens, but it's not required either. So no home checks, just kind of a personal conversational setup interview is usually all that's required to start fostering.
We're also getting a lot of questions from folks who already have pets, primarily dogs and cats, wondering if it's okay to foster kittens for us if they have pets.
I can get to that one.
Go for it, Lizzie.
I personally actually like when, for me, I like when people have other pets because, of course, there is a 10-day quarantine.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah, which is very important to make sure that they won't spread any disease. But after that, they can have a bigger area. And especially if you have a dog or a cat, you never know what kind of place they're going to go to. And if they can get socialized with another animal, it's always ideal so they can be prepared for any situation that they go to with the new home.
I do want to kind of retouch on that. There is a 2-week required quarantine from other pets. And this is not just to protect the kittens, this is to protect your own personal animals as well. Sometimes we're not too sure where these kittens come from, so we allow a 2-week quarantine period just to make sure that they're healthy and ready to join and meet other members of the household. And like I said, the quarantine period is required. So if you don't have a spare extra space to keep them separate from your animals, that is something that you would need to talk about.
Especially if you're taking an adult mother with babies or an adult mom with cats, it's really important to keep them separate for a while just so that everybody can get adjusted to each other before you immediately integrate any animals. That's also something that we recommend with our adoptions, is kind of having a few days to keep everybody separate and let everybody get acquainted with their new environment before introducing any animals to each other. And there's Mom over there just having a good time.
How often should people expect to need to take their foster kittens to the vet during their foster period?
Kittens need to come in for their vaccines every 2 weeks, starting at 4 weeks of age. It's a quick 15-minute, not even an appointment, you don't need to schedule anything, just a quick 15-minute trip back and forth to NHS. The Vet Humane Society provides all medical and veterinary care for all of our foster animals. So anything going on with them, give us a call. We do have an after-hours emergency number. Lexi and I are always in the building, and clinic is, of course, also open as well. And even during all of this quarantine and social distancing, we are still seeing and treating all of our foster kittens here at Nevada Humane Society. So there's no need to worry about any medical costs.
We actually prefer that any kittens that do need medical care are brought to our shelter just so that we can keep track of them and keep track of what's been done. Bringing any of your NHS fosters to a different vet is kind of frowned upon because then you're coming out of pocket for that cost, and a lot of times wires can get crossed. So, yeah.
You guys have already done a really great job speaking to this, but a few folks have asked if there are any notable specific changes we haven't covered here today between how the program's been run in the past, specifically last year, compared to now, some of our existing fosters.
We were going to change into having a required orientation class for new fosters. However, that might turn into a video orientation class at this point. We were also going to offer new socialization and bottle training classes. Those things are also still being refigured to make it work during this social distancing period. There's no big changes. The biggest change is that all foster adoptions are the full adoption fee. There are no more discounted foster adoptions.
But other than that, everything's pretty much the same. What were you going to say?
This is an important clarification. We've gotten a couple questions about if you just want to keep all the kittens because you love the kittens, can you just adopt all the kittens instead of fostering them?
You can adopt as many kittens as you like. As I said before, we do encourage foster families to continue fostering over adoption just because if you're already trained and able to do it, it is a much greater need. We're always seeing more kittens coming in need of foster care. My best bit of advice would be not to adopt your first foster litter. It's a pretty common phenomena that we see, and sometimes people not necessarily regret it, but do come back to me and say they wish they had kept fostering.
And it's okay to cry.
It's okay to cry when you gotta bring them back.
When you bring them back, the first one is the hardest, but then you get another litter and you continue to do it, and then you realize you feel good knowing that they've gone.
How many lives are saving in the
exactly.
process? Just
I
makes
feel
it
like
all
if
worth
we
it.
had stopped fostering after we adopted one from a litter 2 years ago, that you guys would have lost a resource, a valuable resource, and
Absolutely.
we would have been able to provide you with more, to save more kitten lives.
I would like to add something onto that as well. A lot of times foster families will bring their animals back and they'll be like, well, when are they going to get adopted? I don't want them to sit in a cage for too long. These, especially kittens and like young dogs and any animal that comes back from fostering, the longest I've ever seen them spend in the shelter is like a day, maybe 2. So there's, like all these guys already said, there's no shortage of adopters, but we are definitely always in need of foster families because it is kind of a different commitment.
Fosters are able to adopt, of course. They have, first pick of who they'd like to adopt, but, we would like to encourage anybody who signs up to foster and anybody who goes through the training to continue fostering with us.
A couple folks would like to know specifically what types of supplies we send home with the fosters.
That's a great question. We send home pretty much everything possible that we have available to us. We are donation based, so sometimes supplies are a little bit in short supply. But basics, you're going to get food, you're going to get wet food, dry food, cat litter, probably a cat box, probably a cat bed, blankets, formula, bottles, nipples,
a heat source,
toys. If we have it available to give to a foster family, if it's going to set that kitten up for success in that home, we'll definitely make that work.
And if you run out, you come back for more.
If you run
so
out,
if you
run
run out
back
of
for
formula
more.
and you run out of food or you run out of litter, you just give them a call or a text and say, or stop by and say, I need some more. You guys really do make it the easiest possible thing to do.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we're supporting our foster families as best as we can, and we are not afraid to give you guys as much supplies that will help you be successful with your kittens. Because at the end of the day, it's worth it for them and it's worth it for us. So if we have it, we give it.
We have a few crafty folks that are tuning in today and wondering if they're able to sew, can they make their own kitten supplies by way of snuggle blankets and things like that?
Definitely.
Yeah. And you can donate what you make as well.
Yeah, definitely. If you find crafty things to make for your kittens, if you like to make them beds or heaties or anything like that, that's always encouraged and appreciated. So, people get pretty creative when it comes to taking care of their kittens. I've seen quite a few things. I've seen some carpentry projects, some catios. The sky's the limit with that.
We've had a couple people ask specifically about this adorable playpen that our mom and very young kittles are in here. Specifically, how much is it and where can they get one?
There is actually this exact same playpen on our kitten wish list. It is in purple on the wish list. Amazon has a ton of these in a ton of different sizes and colors. These are really great, especially if you are limited on space for fostering. These are great. I use these personally with my foster kittens. When I raise them, they start out in a really small one, and as they get bigger, they get put into a bigger one until they're ready to join the family. These are really great. They're somewhere in between $30 to $70 depending on what size you get and which one you get off Amazon. There are a ton. We do have one on our wish list, so if you kind of want to jump off point, that'd be a good place to start.
Also, folks are interested in knowing when they would be receiving notice. How much advance notice do we give them when we do have foster kittens available, and how would they be notified?
The most common way of notifying fosters that there are kittens are we send out mass emails. So generally we'll get in the heat of kitten season, we'll get in 10 to 15 litters in a day.
And I would like to jump in as the intake coordinator. That doesn't mean 10 to 15 kittens, that means 10 to 15 litters. So in a litter, there could be 1 kitten or there could be 8 kittens. So it's really important for us and for our foster coordinators that these kids are coming in, getting the medical care that they need, and going out the exact same day. So like she said, it's really important that you stay up on your emails and phone calls and things like that.
Yeah, email's the number one way that we let fosters know that there are kittens in need, and we'll kind of go over what their basic age range is and kind of basic care levels. And then fosters can let us know who from the list they'd be interested in fostering. That doesn't mean you can necessarily pick the exact kittens you're going to foster. You're not going to be able to see pictures of them, but you will be able to agree kind of on what their care level is.
Especially if you have a specific setup, if you work often or not as often. People who work at home tend to take more bottle babies versus people who work full time usually take gruel kittens to wean kittens.
Moms and kittens.
It works better for them and their schedule.
There's a foster situation for every need, every lifestyle, every time schedule, everything.
And so pretty much we send out the call that we have kittens that need fostering, and we're hoping for the quickest response possible. Like I said, we want to send them out of the shelter the same day that they come in. So it is pretty fast. However, if you know for sure that you're going to be available on a certain day, when we open back up, you can always show up and ask us if we have foster kittens, because the answer is usually yes.
Folks are really interested in this adorable playpen. If somebody has one that was intended for young children and babies, is it safe for them to fill it with kittens and use that instead?
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure that you plug any existing holes or anything like that.
Yeah, baby playpens were what I started using before I learned about these hexagonal or octagonal playpens. So they're pretty safe. Kittens can climb. They have claws, so just be mindful of that.
A couple folks are wondering how quickly we see our mama cats get adopted in situations like this after the foster kittens become available and released.
Mom cats and adult animals sometimes take a little bit longer to get adopted. A lot of times people are more interested in the tiny cute kittens. Generally for mom cats, their stay is a week, maybe 2. And like I said, that's just because more people are interested in babies. But mom cats, a lot of times, especially if they were in foster care, there's already some background information on them. They have been socialized with the other animals in the house or the young kids in the house, so that kind of does help them get out of the building faster, especially if they, if someone has any information on them.
Yeah, and just because they're older doesn't mean that they don't have such good energy and that they're not a great pet.
Yeah, she's a real young mom. I think you guys said she was like about
year and
a
a
half.
half.
So she's a baby herself.
And she's just so
Super
sweet. She loves
affectionate.
to cuddle.
And we only have time for a few more questions, but we've gotten 2 that I think are actually really valuable and important to cover. The first one I know you get a lot, Carly, and that is, can people name their own foster kittens?
The answer is no, and the short reason why is at any given time, Lexi and I are keeping track of anywhere from 300 to 600 kittens out in foster care. So we are the ones that name pretty much all of them. You are welcome to call them whatever you like in the home, but they do have to keep their NHS name.
Speaking as the intake coordinator, I see every single animal that comes into the building, and if we have 6 animals all named Bella or 6 animals all named Socks or Midnight, it does get kind of confusing. So a lot of times we'll send kittens out with very interesting and unique names, but that just kind of helps us keep track of them a lot better and helps us, keep our process running
They also
smoothly.
like to group them by certain things.
Yeah.
There'll
such
be
as
movies,
crafts,
books,
Spices. Yeah.
Which I really like that. I think it's really cute.
But I don't know if we've ever called them by their given name in the house.
We have.
We don't either.
Because they always have their little personalities when you get them, and so you give them a different name.
Yeah, nicknames are more common
Yeah.
anyway.
Nicknames, that's what it is. We nickname them.
So I know you talked about this a little bit, but we do have some folks who are curious. Obviously, the goal is to say goodbye. Foster as many kittens, save as many lives as you can. There are a few folks who are curious though, if they did get and fall in love with a kitten, do they get first priority as a potential adopter? Or if they had a friend or family member who really wanted a kitten from their foster litter, would they be able to help facilitate that adoption?
Yes. So foster homes do get first pick of who they would like to adopt and also for their friends and family. We don't recommend really getting, advertising them on Craigslist or Nextdoor, but definitely friends and family. The foster family does get first picks because they are putting in the work to raise these kittens. We think that's only fair.
Yeah, and so when we come in and drop the kittens off for their spay and neuter, we were asked at that time, do they have a potential adopter? And if we know somebody who's interested, we give them their name and number, and they are called the day when their kittens are ready to go, and then they're asked, your kitten's ready if you want it. And if you don't, then they go on the floor, but you are notified.
Fantastic. That is all the questions that we have time for today. So thank you to all of you for coming and helping to educate everyone on our foster kitten program.
One last look at these cuties down here.
And I do just want to reiterate that the foster program is a really important part of a successful shelter. We are really, really lucky to have the community that we have and to have all the resources that we do. A lot of shelters don't have the program and the time and the community support that we do, so I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's ever fostered or donated, or everyone that's watching this right now. Sorry if it was a little unorganized. We've never done anything like this before, but the best way that you can get involved is to donate, is to spread the word, help out in as many shelters and as many programs as you can. And, we're just trying to make the world a little bit better place for all these guys. So, yeah.
Thank you guys. Bye.